All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm surprised to see so many survivors here today. Let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about the life of office managers. We'll go through how Odoo can help you as an office manager be more efficient, a bit less stressed, and hopefully make you less be the person that keeps running around. You see there's a QR code and a URL. This is for the pad. If you have any question, just write it down there and we'll go through those at the end of the talk. By the way, my name is Luc Nelis. I'm a product owner at Odoo and I'm here to present this new app. Okay, let's have a look. You've probably heard Fabien during the keynote talk about the story of the mechanic, right? This idea that, well, if you're the best mechanic ever, if you're the person that can fix a car just by listening to the engine, well, it's going to be very frustrating if you don't have the right tools to do it, right? But let's be honest, normally if you're a mechanic, you do have the right tools. If you're the person that works in a workshop, for example, to fix some bikes, and you tell your boss, I need this to unscrew the wheels, normally your boss will tell you, all right, we'll buy you that tool, right? But when you're an employee, it's a bit different. When you are an employee, usually you find a tool that you really love, and you say like, boss, I really need this tool. And your boss will probably tell you something like, yeah, but can't you manage it with spreadsheets and your emails? And that's something that happens all the time. You find a tool that will make your life far easier, a software, and it gets denied because, well, it's an extra cost and maybe, it's not that useful. That's something, for example, I lived myself. Before working for Odoo, I worked as an intern in a company where I was supposed to manage their social media campaigns. And of course, I looked around and I saw a lot of great tools that could help people manage social media campaigns. But when I asked to get a license, they said, no way, it's way too expensive because it was like 10 euros per month. So instead, you will just take screenshots of your tweets, send it to me by email, and I will approve them, and then I will copy them and just post them for you. And it was just very inefficient, especially for 10 euros. But that's something that happens all the time in the software industry. And Odoo had sort of the same problem because with our old pricing, people used to pay for the users, but mostly for the apps, which means that whenever you needed an extra app to do something extra, you needed to pay more. And so a lot of apps were not used a lot because, well, the manager were telling people, no, you cannot have this extra app, even though the app is really good. Now, this is for us, in terms of product design, a big problem because when we say we want to help people do more in less time, we mean like everyone, not just some people. So it's really frustrating to hear that some apps don't get used because the managers don't accept having them on the subscriptions. Which is why it's very nice that now this has been changed with the new pricing and now we can finally have all the apps that we want because we don't pay for apps. You pay for the seats and then you can install whatever you want. Which means that Odoo becomes sort of an all-you-can-eat buffet and you can eat a bit of everything, try a few things here and there. If it doesn't fit, it's not a big deal. If you use an app just for a few things, it's also fine. And you can just play around and see what works best for you. If you're the only employee needing an app, it's not an extra cost, so you can still have it. And for us, in terms of product design, it's really nice because it means that we can come up with tools that are a bit more specialized, but that can still be added as part of the subscription because it's not an extra cost. And for example, if you're an office manager, this is a big issue for you. This would be a big challenge because, well, you're an office manager. Usually, you are the only person in your company doing that, right? There's one office and there's one office manager. So whenever you need something, you're the only one needing it, sort of. On top of that, if you're an office manager, you have a ton of responsibilities. The ones that we have at Odoo are just running around all the time and are impossible to catch because there's so many things to do. You need to organize events like after works. You need to make sure that the works on the building are doing fine. And then there's a light that broke, so you need to call someone. The heating system is not working, so you get a lot of emails about that. And it's just on and on and on, and that's your responsibilities. So you have a lot of duties to handle. And you keep receiving again and again a lot of new requests because you're the single point of contact for all those. So you're just interrupted all the time. which means that office managers, they sort of have to become jack of all trades. They need to be able to do a bit of everything, and they just keep doing a bit of everything. Now, considering how stressful it is, considering how we want people to feel more efficient, how can we sprinkle some Odoo magic on that and make it easier for them to handle this? Well, there are some apps that your colleagues are using that could be helpful for you. Those are already installed on your database, so you have nothing else to do extra. It's just taking advantage of them. One of those apps, for example, is the email marketing app. It's really nice as if you manage to have, for example, a newsletter running that keeps people know about the new things happening, the next event, maybe the newcomers, etc. And it doesn't take a lot of effort. You see here, I just opened the email marketing app and I can create a new mailing. We provide some templates for you, meaning that, for example, this one here, I really like for this purpose, coffee break. Well, you see here, you have an idea of what you could do. Some quick news, maybe a picture of the newcomers, their names, so that if people find them at the coffee machine, they know how to have a quick chat with them, and then maybe some links that people could have a look at. You can just change the content, upload a few pictures, and already you are solving a big problem, is that communication in most company is not really efficient. So here at least you're making sure that people are aware of what's happening. So that's already a good start, and chances are your marketing colleagues are using the email marketing app already, so it doesn't even need to be installed, it's already there. Now, you maybe also want to be organizing some events, right? Some afterwork, some parties, to make sure that colleagues can maybe relax a bit together and get to know each other. Well, usually it's done through sending spreadsheets, through emails, and then people need to reply, and then they cancel, but they don't tell you, and it's just a mess. Instead, how about we use the event app? It's just very easy. You can see here, I can just open it, and you see I have created an evening called board game night. Very simple configuration. I just put the start and end, and I can just share it with my colleagues. They will pick their seats, and when they register, I ask them a few questions, like name and email, just so I know who's coming, and then maybe, for example, which board game are you bringing, so that we have a bit of an idea of which games we're going to play. And also, I can ask them, for example, to vote between the different meals that we could order. Maybe we'll order pizza, pasta, and fries. Once I get a few subscriptions, I can just open it here, and I can see here that, well, this night we'll eat pizza because it got the most votes. Again, very simple configuration, but you can see that from here, I got a great experience where I have the explanation of what we're going to do, maybe a nice cover, and people can just register here, and they get the questions. You see that your colleagues are probably logged on your database, so they don't even have to enter their name and their email, it's already there. So again, we're just taking advantage of the tools that the other departments are using, but it's making our life far easier already. Okay, let's keep going. As I said, you are always receiving new requests. It's all the time and you're interrupted all the time, which is a problem because as an office manager, you sometimes have to manage budgets or things that really require you to focus for a long time. And if you keep getting a lot of requests in your inbox, you're always distracted, you're just tired and not productive. Instead, what you can do is use, for example, the project app. Chances are your colleagues in R&D, for example, are using it already. So you don't even need to install it, it's right there. And then what you can do is instead of sharing your own email address with your colleagues, you can create an alias linked to that project so that whenever someone needs something related to the Odoo farms, so those are our own offices, they just shoot an email to farm@mycompany.com and it creates a new task for you. Meaning that you're not receiving requests on your own inbox, you are receiving new tasks, and whenever you have some time, you go in there and you handle those. Plus, you have an extra security because, well, those email addresses, we can have a look at them before creating the tasks. And we can make sure that the only email address that we accept are the ones that belong to employees. So that you are sure that you're not getting requests from customers or maybe someone that's making a mistake while writing an email. With that, you're not interrupted and you can organize your time as you want. Nice. Something else that maybe could help are the interactions that you get because people have a lot of small questions, right? It's all the time, it's how the coffee machine is not turned on, how can I do it? I have an issue with the parking, who should I call, etc., etc. As an office manager, you don't want to do live Q&A all the time. You have some other duties. So how about, instead, you create an article in Knowledge, and in there, you just write all the frequent questions and their answers. Whenever people have extra questions, you just complete this document and you make it very complete. If you have some extra info that you need from other people, you can just highlight it, maybe add some comments, so that HR can have a look and answer to that part. What's really nice, and that this is in the workspace, and you see that when I open the share panel here, it is shared with everyone in my company, meaning that every new colleague that join will have access to those. I don't have to keep making any update. It's just a document that's there for everywhere, for everyone, sorry, and it's just very handy. And I can keep this document evolving so that it's always up to date. And with that, I'm already far diminishing the amount of questions that I get every day. Okay, so those are apps maybe your colleagues are already using, but there are some apps that are maybe a bit more specific and that could still make your life even better. For example, something that you have to do as an office manager is to ask for signatures to your manager or the CEO. And it's just very painful because those are busy people, not really available, and you need to print those documents, follow them around, and ask again and again to get the signatures, to make the different groundworks, etc., that you're working on, make some progress. Instead, you could just use a Sign app. You create the document, you send it to your manager by email with reminders, and you can just forget about it. It will be handled by Odoo, and they will answer to your request. They will sign it from you for Odoo, and you're done. Same again, something that we've been using for a while at Odoo, now we changed because we have our own restaurant, is the Lunch app. The Lunch app is very handy because it means that all your colleagues can just log in, and they can order a sandwich or a pasta directly to a vendor, and this order is then channeled and then sent to your vendor after a while, and then they deliver it to your office. Very easy. Same again, you're probably as an office manager getting a lot of requests like, can I get a new pen? Or there's no paper in the printing machine. Well, instead of having to be interrupted for requests that are like less than 10 euros, how about you use the Expense app and you let people build their own stuff or buy whatever they need, and then they just expense it and they get reimbursed. This way, you can just keep focusing on what matters, like preparing this very big event, or maybe the big budget for the new office that your people are going to invest in. Okay, well, with that, you're already way more productive, way more less stressed. You still are in touch with your colleagues, but only when it's relevant, and you are more in charge of how you organize your day. But how can we push it even further? How can we make your life even better? Actually, the life of the entire company. Well, there is something in a company that really still is sort of the law of the strongest. You know, it's like a jungle. And it's like the ones with the most authority or the most impressive ones are usually bullying their colleagues on that regard. And it is meeting rooms. Meeting rooms is usually a big source of trouble in any company because it just creates a ton of tension. We've all been through this, and it's so frustrating. You are starting a meeting with, for example, a customer, it's all going really well, and then at some point, you have someone coming in and saying, yeah, I need the room, sorry. And if it's your boss, you have to say, oh, okay. And then your meeting that was going really well just became very weird. Or the opposite, you go to welcome a customer, and then when you go to the meeting room, you see that there's someone in already. And it's just very strange, and then you have to tell your customer, yes, sorry, can we do the meeting at the coffee machine instead? And it just doesn't look very professional. So how can we make it better with an Odoo app? Well, let's say that this is the door of your meeting room, right? What we can do is just add a small tablet in there. We put a tablet next to the door, and that's it. Then we open Odoo, and we have an interface that looks like this. At a glance, you can see if the room's available, and you can book it. That's all. With that, you already are sure that nobody can come in, because if it's not available, they know and they won't come in. And at the same time, you can even know in advance what's been planned. So that's the brand new app that we're releasing with version 17. It's just called Rooms, because we like to keep things simple, and Actually, it's a very simple app. Let's have a quick look. So you see here I have a new menu. I can just open it. Here I get an overview of all my different rooms and the office they're in. But this is for later. What I want to show you is just this. So those are my rooms, and you know usually companies, they like to get fancy names for their meeting rooms. So for example, if I take the California room, we want to make it that simple. You just put a picture, some text, some colors, and you're done. And then you open this on a tablet. And that's it. With this done, you can let your colleagues organize the meetings and know when the room's available. Let's say that I meet John at the coffee machine and we start chatting and we realize that, well, we need to have a meeting to discuss a project. Well, when I'm going back to my desk, before sitting in front of my computer, I just go in front of this meeting room and I can just say, well, I will schedule a booking. So this interface is very simple because you're probably using it with your fingers, right, on a tablet. So you would say schedule booking. You see when it's available. You see here there's a meeting from 1 to 6. So I will say, well, let's meet here, and 30 minutes should be enough. Schedule, done. Now you see the entry has been added here, meaning that the next person won't be able to take that moment. Now let's say I get an email from John and we have the meeting agenda and I see that, well, it's gonna take a long time. Well, I just open it here and I just add an extra 30 minutes. That's it. Now let's say that John calls me and say, yeah, I'm very sorry, but my daughter is sick. I need to go back to pick her at school. No worries. I can just free the room, just like this, and it's available. That's it. Now, something that sometimes happens as well is that if you're working in an open space, whenever you get a call, it's a bit of a trouble because you don't want to distract your colleagues and you don't want a background noise in your call. So instead, you just go to the meeting room and you can just say, book now, 15 minutes. The room is booked, and you can see like it's big and red, so nobody's going to enter. You make your call, and once you're done, you just leave, and you can free it if you want, so that your colleagues can have it. That's it, very simple, available or busy. Now, this is the interface you'll have on your tablet, but of course, if you're a bit lazy and in front of your computer, you can do all of that from the backend, right? You see here I have all the rooms, so if I want to add some new ones, I can. What I can also do, for example, is make a bit of changes in the agenda. For example, let's say the board meeting will be a bit late. Well, I can just drag and drop it, and I'm done. It's been updated, and the room will be available at this time. And that's it, really. It's just a simple tool for a simple issue that can now be solved. And with this, we've seen a bit how, by using the different tools in Odoo, we can really make your life easier as an office manager. Instead of having a communication that's really hectic with emails being shooted all the time whenever something happens, we organize a nice newsletter that is sent, for example, every Monday, so that everybody knows what's happening. Instead of having events that are organized with spreadsheets and by sending emails or nothing at all, we can just organize them through events, meaning that we know how many meals we need to order, we know how many people will come, etc., etc. Instead of having people asking you all the time about the same things, we organize it with some knowledge articles, and we have a system where they can just retrieve the information for themselves, and you could just keep the document evolving if there's new needs. And then the meeting rooms are now unlocked with the brand new app called Rooms, so that you can just, at a glance, when you go in the corridor, see if the room's available, and just book it with a few finger taps. That's really what we wanted to do with this app, is to make sure that rooms were just easy to handle. It's that simple. And that's it, really. So I'll give you a few more seconds in case you didn't write any question yet. The QR code is there, the URL is just below. If you have questions, I think we'll have a few minutes to have a look. So let's have your questions. Oh, and in the meantime, if you have extra questions, or if you want a demo, we have the marketing booth with all the apps. So at the end of the other room, if you want to have a chat or see a bit how it works, we'll be very happy to welcome you there. But maybe there's any question in the pad, let's see.
Thanks a lot, Luc, for this inspiring talk.
Thank you.
We have some questions.
Yeah.
I'll begin with the first one. Is there a way to connect or create a reservation in a Google meeting room? Or auto-create a booking from a Google Calendar event?
For now, as I said, it's the main purpose is to have it in front of your door, and it's just it's not integrated with anything else because we wanted to keep things very simple.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. What about security? Is it public or login only? What happens if I book a room and someone deletes the entry and add their own entry?
Yeah, so that's the classic Odoo style implementation. We prefer to let people define processes, and we don't like to add a lot of extra rules. So you see here the rooms. All we have is here is the URL that you can access, and that's what you open on the tablet. For the rest, we trust the company, we trust the users and your colleagues. Usually, your colleagues, if they remove your meeting, it's because they ask you first. And we prefer to let this happen and be flexible than have a huge process where you have to go through a lot of steps to do this.
Great, thanks. Can the rooms be shared with externals?
Yeah, you could, as you saw, there's a link here. So if you share this link, they could have access to it and maybe book the rooms in advance. Yeah.
Thanks. Is it possible to link it with an Outlook calendar?
So for Google and Outlook, we have the synchronization, but it's for the calendar events. Here we are talking about something different, where really it's mostly a tool to know if the rooms are available in the office. So it's different.
Yes, thanks. Is there a layout that can be shown?
I mean, I showed here a bit. So you have the picture that you can put at the background. You can pick the colors when it's available or not. And you can add here a few extra comments. For example, if there's a projector, how many seats, etc. This is what appears on the top right here, you see, so that you can add an extra note. So those are the layout options that you have.
Okay, great. Is it possible to make appointments with an email for the rooms?
No. But if you, so this is the simplest version if you're working with this in your office, right? If you want to have a few more options, then you could switch to the appointment app. The talk just before talked about it, so that you can create resources that have their own agenda and where you have a lot more options. Here we wanted to have a dead simple tool for really the basic use case of I have a call, I need the room, or I have a meeting, I need the room.
Okay. And with the hardware, does it work with any tablet?
Yeah, I mean, you see, this is just a basic URL, and then you open it, and then it's just the interface is very simple, so that you can just work on it with your fingers. You can just tap here to modify the different things. You see the buttons are very big, so it's not something you need to install with specific hardware. It's a basic web page.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, can we use the app to rent rooms in a shared space?
If you want to rent it, I would advise using appointments, because there you saw we have the integration with the payment flow, so that you're sure that people maybe pay in advance. So I would rather advise appointment for this use case.
Okay, thanks. How does a user log in the tablet view?
So the idea is that this tablet interface is somewhere in your corridor of your company. So we don't require a login. It's just opened, and anybody passing by can just do it. We prefer to do it this way, and normally it's inside your building, so it's not like somebody's gonna book a room like in secret during the night or something.
Can we name the meeting at the time of booking?
Yeah, I skipped it because I was showing how easy it was, but indeed, you see here, I could say look demo when I'm creating it. There you go. And it will appear here. So that, for example, if somebody maybe need the rooms at this time, they know they can just give me a quick call, and I can say, yeah, just take it, I don't mind.
Okay, thanks. We still have another question about Outlook. Can you link the rooms calendar to Outlook?
No, those are different objects, so there's no synchronization for now.
Okay, thanks. Can any user delete room bookings, or can you limit the delete only to your own bookings?
Well, as I said, this is in the corridor of your office, and we're not asking for logins, so anybody can do anything. Because again, we prefer to let companies be flexible, and we consider that users can trust each other. And it's always when the software is blocking you, and you have like a colleague that's sick, that blocked the meeting room, and he says like, yeah, you can have the room, I'm sick, but you're stuck because you don't have his credentials, etc., etc. It's very painful and frustrating. So we prefer to keep things open, at least in this first version, to really keep things dead simple.
Okay. I'll check if we still have other questions.
Yeah, otherwise, I mean, I will be available at the booth, and we can just go through those together and have a quick look together on the screen.
Here I have a last question. Is it possible to book meetings between 2 days, like 11 p.m. to 1 a.m.?
So the front end you see here is for today only. In the back end, you have more options. When you go to the classic Odoo interface here, here you have a few more options, and you could, for example, if the room is being worked on during a few days because the painting needs to be done, you would do it from the back end so that it's not available. But on the front end, I really hope your company does not force you to have meetings between those hours. So it should be you don't do it from the tablet.
Okay, thanks a lot, Luc, for your answers.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.